and said that I was at 37 centimeters, or 37. Baby would fall up. Hello and welcome. Thanks for coming back. If you're new to our channel, please feel free to like and subscribe down below so that you don't miss any of our future videos. For those of you joining us today, we're going to be discussing Alex and his birth story. Alex is my second child, and he will be the third in a series of birth stories. We did the youngest first because we don't like to do things by the rules. But today we'll be discussing Alex's birth. He was a natural or medication-free delivery, yes, induction, and oh, here he is. He's brought me a new battery because my camera battery's gonna die. So Alex is joining us today for his birth story, and so we're just gonna jump right in. So we've been joined by the baby. Anyway, so Alex was born in 2009, 8.5 years ago. Alex was a very quick birth, just like Emma's, just like Jacob's. He was born at the hospital. I was 40 weeks and I had been previously in labor with him. I had been in labor at 37 weeks and they actually admitted me to the hospital. They checked my cervix, which is kind of subjective as some of you know, and said that I was at 37 centimeters, or 37. Baby would fall up. Said that I was at 4 centimeters stretched to a 5 and I was having contractions. So they admitted me and monitored me overnight, and we were there. The contractions kind of slowed down, petered out. Oh lordy, this is what happens every time Lily is in here. The camera falls. So Alex was a hospital birth. He was born on his due date. We initially went into the hospital at 37 weeks and having contractions. I was checked. They said, we think you're in labor, which was way different from when I went in with my daughter. But they said, we think you're in labor. They admitted me. I hung out. Contractions stopped. No cervical change. They sent us home. From that point forward, we spent the next 3 weeks basically. I was in labor on and off. I would start having contractions. They would keep me awake. I would try and get some sleep. I would get up. I would walk around. They would stop. So this went on for a while, and I had struggled through my whole pregnancy with migraines with Alex. I've always had migraines. For some people, they will go away during pregnancy. For me, that was not the case with Alex, and so I was having I had some meds that I could take, but my regular rescue medication obviously was not safe for pregnancy. I was on a prophylactic medication for migraines. I took metoprolol, and so I was having regular ultrasounds just to make sure that everything was okay with him because of the medication I was on. But I was still having migraines, and so I ended up going in quite regularly in the last 3 or 4 weeks for shots of morphine. I was going probably twice a week to get shots for migraines. It just wouldn't go away. The nausea was awful. I couldn't stop throwing up. I couldn't sleep. And so we decided that the best option, really, oh my goodness. We decided that the best option would be to induce. We decided that at that point he had made it to his due date by the induction, and he would be better off out than in. I decided that kind of, you know, the extra few days of baking was not a greater benefit than coming out and avoiding all the morphine, I guess. So we went in on the morning of my induction. It was a Sunday. We got there at 9 and we just kind of prepared. I got to the hospital and I was kind of already having contractions. I had, you know, I mean, they'd been happening anyway, but we got there and they monitored me and they were fairly regular. And so they got me set up. They put in a saline lock and just, you know, in case I needed medications and whatnot. But when the midwife came around and we talked, we just kind of decided that since I was already having contractions, that we may as well just try and break my water and see how that worked. So Alex was fairly low, and again, I had been at 3 or 4 centimeters for 3 or 4 weeks at this point. So my friend Ashley had gone to church that morning. She was there when he was born. She came and attended. She came after church and she was there. She walked in just after, I think, they broke my water. They broke my water at 10:45. And then, so they broke my water. They had kind of just left me alone for that. I was walking around. I went to the bathroom, I think, and yeah, Ashley got there after they broke my water because I was in the bathroom when she got there. So they broke my water, and now his sister is peeping. Payback for when we tried to film her video. They broke my water, and contractions started to pick up pretty quickly. They did allow me to use the birth tub, or the jacuzzi tub there. So we went down to the jacuzzi tub and I labored in there. They just came every once in a while to check his heart rate and stuff like that. We were walking back. Now, so at some point, Tim's dad had called because it was Father's Day on that day. So Tim's dad had called to wish him a happy Father's Day. And, you know, he's like, oh, what are you doing? And we said, oh, well, you know, we're having a baby. And I joked around. I said, he'll be here by noon, which was a little lofty of a goal considering that they broke my water at 10:45. But I had shouted that, and then we went to the jacuzzi. We labored in there for a little bit, and I was just kind of done. Like, I was like, I can't be in here anymore. I'm done. I need to do something else. Like, I can't handle this. I can't do it. I need to move. I need to do something. So we started walking back to the room. I got, you know, my hospital gown and a towel and everything, and I was, you know, just walking back to the room. And Ashley and Tim were walking with me, and like, the nurse at the nurse's station said, how's she doing? And Ashley was kind of like, well, you know, somebody may want to come and check. I think she's getting pretty close. And I mean, at this point, Ashley had 2 babies. I had 1. You know, we were kind of like, okay, well, we kind of got this figured out. But I walked back in, and I remember climbing up on, I wanted to just kind of rest on the bed. I was tired, and I said, you know, it really hurt. I just want to sit down for a second. So I climbed up on the bed, and when I was up on the bed, I was on my hands and knees, and I remember that urge to push. You know, when you kind of involuntarily bear down, and I did that, and I remember Ashley kind of peeking out and going, maybe right now she's kind of pushing. And so the nurse comes in and she's like, well, let's check you and see where you're at, and then we'll have the midwife come in and kind of get things set up and talk about what you want to do or what's going to happen. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I rolled over onto my back, and I was kind of sitting up, but I was, you know, I was facing them forward then, and I was kind of sitting up, and no, okay, I'm sorry. My water was broken, I think, at 10:15. Now that I think about it. It was 10:15 when they broke my water. I don't know why I said 10:45 earlier. So it was 10:15 when they broke my water. But anyway, so they were checking, you know, everything, and the midwife comes in and she goes to check and see where I'm at as far as progress, and she's like, oh, well, we'll just talk later. I'm just gonna catch the baby. Because at that point, he was right there. We were ready to push and kind of do that thing. Tim had called my mom and was like, hey, you know, when we first got back into the room before the midwife got there, was like, hey, I think that it's time. Maybe you should, you know, head up this way. And Ashley was in the back going, get in the car now. Now, just go now, come now. Because Tim was just kind of trying to be very nonchalant about it. And Ashley was like, no, get in the car right now. You have to go right now. This is what I deal with for the last 8 years. Goofy boy. So, anyway, my mom got in the car. She was about 20 minutes away. If that, you know, just depending on traffic, kind of 20, 25 minutes. So she starts driving. The midwife comes in. They check. Alex is right there. I pushed maybe a few times, and this child just came flying out. He was born about 5 minutes before his grandma got there. So she walked in just after I had delivered the placenta. Very easy, no complications. I didn't have to have any Pitocin. I didn't have any pain medication. Start to finish, they broke my water at 10:15. He was born at 11:45. Talk about precipitous labors. This boy textbook. And I laughed because I told Tim to call his dad and tell him I told you so, because he was born before noon. So yeah, all in all, very uncomplicated. He just came shuffling right on out into the world. He has been a little firecracker ever since. He had hair, nothing like his sister. I will put a picture of him at birth in here so that you can see him. He did have hair. It was lighter than Emma's, and it was not quite as thick as Emma's. Blue eyes. He's a Goonie baby. He did initially at birth have a little bit of a spitty problem. We thought he might have pyloric stenosis, but he was cleared and that wasn't an issue. He was just very spitty. He was, how big were you when you were born? You don't know? He was 8 pounds, 8 ounces and 19.5 inches long. So he was my biggest baby at that point. Lily was overall the biggest baby. Overall, if you've watched her video, you know that she was 9 pounds, 3 ounces, so she was enormous. But Alex was 8 pounds, 8 ounces. 8 pounds, 9 ounces, depending on when you look, but there was a lot of fluid retention. I was so bloated with him. I'm not kidding you. I had him, and then I basically peed for, 24 hours straight, and by the time I went home, I had lost like 30 pounds. Please don't hit yourself. Your head is hard. I had no complications with him, no issues with breastfeeding, which was nice because with Emma, she was born so quickly and there were some issues getting her to latch and there was pain. And of course there was, the normal pain and adjustment, but it wasn't, overall it was easy. He slept great from the get-go coming home from the hospital. He's always been very energetic, very fireball. But yeah, otherwise very uneventful, very easy induction. Like I said, they just ruptured my membranes and then he came flying on out. So there was no need for Pitocin, no need for pain meds, anything like that. The hospital was great about monitoring. This is so distracting right now. Yeah, so that was it. Very easy, very uncomplicated hospital induction. No pain meds, no lasting effects. We're just left with this amazing blessing that is child number 2 in our family. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. We appreciate it. Is there anything you'd like to add, Alex? Is there anything you'd like to say? No? All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. We hope that you enjoyed our little story. What?
I love to run.
Oh, he loves to run. We hope that you enjoyed this story of Alex's entry into this world. If you want to see my other birth videos, check them out. Jacob's, my 3rd son, will be coming up next. He was at home, or my very first home birth. He was a water birth, like his baby sister. His birth was a little more up in the air for a while because we did have some complications during the pregnancy, but all in all, he came out well. So if you want to see that, feel free to subscribe so that you don't miss it. You can check it out when it's uploaded. Otherwise, go check out our other videos, and thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you had a good time, and we'll see you soon. Bye.